Our special correspondent Kurt Barling has been looking at how communities scarred by this year's tragedies are working to ensure lessons are learnt.
This is a play based on the grim reality of teenage murder statistics.
My hand plunges hard into him. I feel his blood on my hand.
Stereo is taking tough issues into schools to encourage young people to tackle their fears head-on. After the murder of her own son, Tom, a year ago, Dolores Altaras was convinced that stimulating debate in schools was a key part of any solution.
I think they're the only ones who can change things. We can try and explain things, we can try and expose things for them, but the decision is theirs, and I think it has to come from within.
Problem is, say many voluntary sector players, it's difficult to sustain this type of intervention without consistent support.
My experience is that there's a hell of a lot of talk and a question mark about the how that sits between the talk and actually what's happening out on the street and in London.
Who are you hanging around with now, Carlton? Usual crew?
Amongst law enforcers, there's a growing recognition that tougher enforcement must combine with targeted intervention to deliver safer streets.
There's been more enforcement, there are more arrests, you see knife crime down, serious assaults down, everything else except, and of course it's vital, the homicides. But in every other area of serious violence in London, it's down. But this is about long-term solutions. This is about not criminalising young people, and the big stick is a short-term fix. It's not where the met is. We want to do far more about prevention.
As the year draws to a close, there is a feeling that gun and knife crime across the capital has finally become a political priority. But funding good work remains a problem.
What we find on the ground is, again, this short-term funding, inappropriate commissioning, which means the money doesn't go to the organisations that are doing the work. It's going to the organisations that maybe are best able to represent themselves and or shout the loudest.
You just got to steer clear of them now.
The challenge in 2008 is to recapture the initiative from those who would use violence to resolve their conflicts. Both sides agree involving young people themselves in finding long-term solutions is critical. Kurt Barling, BBC London News.
Well, joining me here is Dolores Altaras, who we saw in that report, and also Pastor Les Isaac, who organised a peace rally in Peckham to highlight the issue of teenage violence. Welcome to you both. Dolores, listening to that figure of 25 young lives lost this year, it can't be easy for you as a mother having lost her son. Do you honestly think that next year will be different?
No, I don't. But because of that, it doesn't mean that we have to fear that it's going to get worse and worse. What I think we need to do is give young people a voice. Listen to them, see what they want, see who are their role models, see their problems, and give them the opportunity to engage.
Now, one of the biggest criticisms we hear on this programme, Pastor, is that communities themselves, and particularly parents, aren't doing enough.
I think that's an unfair criticism. I think there are many parents out there who are doing their uttermost best. But I also feel that we need to remember that there are some parents who do need to be encouraged and who do need support. And what we are saying that the community, the whole community, need to rally around to support those parents who are going through some of them a very difficult time with their children.
Is the issue that young people need to be more frightened of the law than they are of each other in order for this to stop?
I think we need to get things into perspective. I think that a lot of young people, some of them feel, well, the law is not on our side. Some of them feel that they've got to take the law in their own hands. I think what we need to do is to educate young people, and part of that education is more interactiveness with young people. That's why we spend a lot of time on the street engaging with young people.
Well, let's just pick up on that interactiveness, because BBC London did specifically commission a BBC London survey. 500 young teenagers between the ages of 13 and 18 were interviewed, and they weren't optimistic about the future. 3/4 of them, Dolores, said that they thought violent crime will go up in the next year. Does that concur with what you're hearing from young people?
Yes, but fear, as I said before, is not the end of all. I think young people have the possibility, if we allow them to have that voice and say, we want people to listen to us. It's not lawlessness in the streets. There are people that want to be heard, and I think we want to give them that opportunity. So that fear is real, but it can be changed.
Okay. Well, Dolores Altaras and Pastor Les Isaac, we must leave it there. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.